It's 2 a.m. Everyone else in your house is asleep. The world is quiet, and here you are, wide awake, scrolling through your phone, watching videos, or just staring at the ceiling, wondering why you can't just go to sleep like a normal person. Sound familiar? Maybe you tell yourself just one more episode, or I'll sleep after this level, or the classic, I'm not even tired yet. But deep down, you know tomorrow morning is going to be rough. You'll wake up exhausted, promise yourself you'll sleep early tonight, and then the cycle repeats. If this is you, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world are night owls, staying up late not because they have to, but because somehow nighttime just feels right. But why? Why do some people naturally stay awake when everyone else is sleeping? Is it just bad habits, lack of discipline, or is there something deeper happening in your brain and body? Welcome to Mind Reversed, where we explore the fascinating psychology behind everyday behaviors. Today, we're diving deep into the minds and lives of people who sleep late at night. We'll uncover the science, the psychology, the benefits, the risks, and most importantly, whether you should try to change it or embrace it. By the end of this video, you'll understand yourself better, and you might even discover that being a night owl isn't the problem you thought it was. Let's dive in. First, let's get one thing straight. Sleeping late isn't just about being lazy or undisciplined. It's actually rooted in biology. Scientists have discovered that humans have different chronotypes, basically, your body's natural preference for when to sleep and wake. Some people are morning larks, some are night owls, and most people fall somewhere in between. Your chronotype is largely determined by your genetics. That's right, your DNA actually influences whether you're naturally inclined to stay up late or wake up early. Studies estimate that about 40 to 50% of your sleep-wake preferences are inherited. But here's what's interesting. Night owls make up about 20 to 30% of the population. You're part of a significant minority. And throughout human history, this actually made evolutionary sense. Think about it. When our ancestors lived in tribes, having some people awake at night provided protection. While most of the group slept, night owls kept watch, protecting against predators and threats. It was a survival advantage. So if you're a night owl, you're carrying an ancient genetic trait that once helped keep humanity alive. Pretty cool, right? But in modern society, we've created a world that favors morning people. School starts early. Most jobs begin at 9 a.m. The entire structure of society is built around morning schedules. And this creates what researchers call social jet lag for night owls. You're constantly fighting against your natural biological rhythm. Now, before we go further, let's be clear about what we mean by sleeping late. We're not talking about insomnia or sleep disorders. We're talking about people who, when left to their own schedule, naturally prefer to go to bed late and wake up late. Their total sleep time might be fine. They're just shifted later. If you go to bed at 2 a.m. and wake up at 10 a.m., you're getting 8 hours of sleep. The timing is different, but the amount is adequate. That's a true night owl. But if you're staying up late and then having to wake up early, getting only 4 or 5 hours of sleep, that's sleep deprivation, and that's a different problem entirely. Understanding this difference is crucial, because the psychology and health implications are very different depending on which category you fall into. So what's actually happening in your brain and body when you're a night owl? Let's dive into the science. It all comes down to something called your circadian rhythm, your body's internal 24-hour clock. This clock is controlled by a tiny region in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, located in your hypothalamus. Your SCN responds to light. When light enters your eyes, it sends signals to your brain that it's daytime, time to be awake and alert. When it gets dark, your brain starts producing a hormone called melatonin, which makes you feel sleepy. But here's where night owls are different. Research shows that night owls have a delayed circadian rhythm. Their melatonin production starts later in the evening. While a morning person might start feeling sleepy at 9 or 10 p.m., a night owl might not feel that sleepiness until midnight or 1 a.m. And it's not just about feeling sleepy. Your entire body operates on this rhythm. Your body temperature, hormone levels, digestion, and even your cognitive performance all follow circadian patterns. For night owls, peak alertness and cognitive performance often comes late in the day or evening. Your brain is literally sharper at night. This isn't laziness or poor habits, it's biology. Dr. Till Roneberg, a chronobiology researcher, has extensively studied this phenomenon. He found that forcing night owls to live on morning schedules can lead to chronic sleep deprivation and what he calls social jet lag, the mismatch between your biological clock and your social obligations. Studies using brain imaging have shown that night owls have different patterns of brain activity. Their prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for complex thinking and decision-making, shows higher activity later in the day compared to morning people. There's also a genetic component. Researchers have identified several genes associated with being a night owl, including the clock gene, the PER3 gene, and others involved in regulating circadian rhythms. One particularly interesting study found that night owls have longer circadian periods. While the average person's internal clock runs on a 24-hour cycle, night owls often have internal clocks that run slightly longer, sometimes 24.5 or even 25 hours. This means that without external time cues, night owls naturally drift towards staying up later each night. Their internal clock is literally running slower than the external world. But it's not just genetics and brain chemistry. Psychology plays a huge role too. Many night owls report that nighttime feels peaceful, creative, and free from distractions. There's something about the quiet darkness that feels liberating. No emails coming in, no one asking you to do things, just you and your thoughts. Psychologically, this can be incredibly valuable. Night owls often describe feeling more creative and focused at night. And research supports this. Studies have shown that night owls score higher on tests of creativity and divergent thinking. There's also a personality component. Research has found correlations between being a night owl and certain personality traits. Night owls tend to score higher on openness to experience. They're often more independent thinkers, and they're more likely to be introverted. This doesn't mean all night owls are the same, but there are patterns, and understanding these patterns helps us understand why nighttime feels so right for certain people. Not all night owls are created equal. Just like we discussed different types of self-talkers in our previous video, there are different types of people who stay up late, each with their own psychological profile. Let's break them down. Type 1, the true biological night owl. This is someone whose circadian rhythm is genuinely shifted later. They're not staying up late by choice or habit. Their body literally wants to sleep later. If you're this type, you probably have experienced this since childhood or adolescence. Even on weekends when you could wake up whenever you want, you naturally sleep late and wake late. You don't set alarms on free days, and you still wake up around 10 a.m. or later. When you have to wake up early for work or school, you struggle. Coffee doesn't fully help. You feel groggy for hours. But come evening, you're energized and alert. This type isn't fighting a habit. They're fighting their biology. And research shows this is real. Brain scans, hormone tests, and genetic markers all confirm this is a legitimate biological variation. Type 2, the revenge procrastinator. This is a fascinating psychological phenomenon that has become more recognized recently, especially in cultures with demanding work schedules. Revenge bedtime procrastination is when you stay up late not because you're not tired, but because you're reclaiming personal time that you felt was taken from you during the day. You spent all day at work or school doing what others wanted you to do. Finally, nighttime comes and it's your time. So even though you're exhausted, you stay up watching shows, scrolling social media, or doing hobbies because you're psychologically compensating for the lack of control you had during the day. The term originated in China, where intense work cultures leave people with little personal time, but it's spreading globally. If you find yourself saying, "I deserve this time," even though you know you should sleep, you might be a revenge procrastinator. Psychologically, this is about autonomy and control. You're asserting independence over your time, even if it's harmful to your sleep and health. Type 3, the anxiety-driven night owl. For some people, staying up late isn't preference, it's anxiety. Their mind won't shut off. They lie in bed, but thoughts race, worries multiply. So they get up and distract themselves with phones, TV, or activities. This type of night owl is using staying awake as an avoidance strategy. Sleep feels vulnerable. When you sleep, you're not in control. For anxious people, that loss of control is frightening. There's also a phenomenon called sleep anxiety, where the act of trying to sleep itself becomes stressful. You worry about not falling asleep, which makes you more alert, which makes it harder to sleep. A vicious cycle. If this is you, your late nights aren't enjoyable. You're not feeling creative or peaceful. You're feeling restless and trapped by your own mind. This type benefits most from addressing the underlying anxiety rather than just trying to change sleep habits. Type 4, the creative night owl. These are artists, writers, musicians, and thinkers who genuinely feel more creative at night. And research supports this. Studies show that night owls do tend to be more creative. Why? Several reasons. First, nighttime reduces external stimulation and distractions. Second, your mind is slightly more tired at night, which actually reduces your internal filter. You think more freely and make more unusual connections. Third, there's something about darkness and solitude that feels conducive to creative work. Many famous creators throughout history were night owls, from Franz Kafka to Bob Dylan to Barack Obama. If you're this type, staying up late isn't a problem to fix. It's when you do your best work. The challenge is finding a life structure that accommodates this rather than fighting it. Type 5, the social night owl. Some people stay up late because that's when their social world is active. Their friends are night owls. They go out late, they text late, their social rhythms are shifted. This is especially common in certain cultures and age groups. Young adults and people in urban environments often have later social schedules. If you're this type, sleeping early feels like you're missing out. FOMO, fear of missing out, keeps you awake. You don't want to be asleep while everyone else is having fun or connecting. Psychologically, this is about social connection and belonging. You're choosing social engagement over sleep because humans are fundamentally social creatures. Type 6, the habitual night owl. And then there are people who aren't biologically night owls, but have simply developed the habit. Maybe it started in college, maybe it was a demanding job or a newborn baby. But now, even though the original reason is gone, the pattern remains. This type can actually change their sleep schedule more easily than true biological night owls, but they've trained their body into this pattern through repetition. If you're this type, you might notice that when you really commit to sleeping earlier for a week or two, your body adjusts. That's a sign you're habitual rather than biological. The psychology here is about routine and comfort. Your nighttime activities have become part of your identity and comfort zone. Changing feels difficult not because your body resists, but because your habits and psychology resist. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough. The actual benefits of being a night owl. Society tends to frame staying up late as entirely negative. You're told it's unhealthy, unproductive, and irresponsible. But research tells a more nuanced story. Benefit 1. Enhanced creativity and problem-solving. Multiple studies have shown that night owls score higher on measures of creativity. A study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that evening types showed more creative thinking. Why? Because when you're slightly tired, not exhausted but in that relaxed late-night state, your brain's executive function relaxes. Your mental filter weakens. This allows for more unusual associations and creative connections. Some of humanity's greatest creative works were produced late at night. The quiet, the darkness, the solitude, it all contributes to a mental state conducive to creativity. Benefit 2, better focus on complex tasks. While morning people often do better on routine tasks early in the day, night owls show superior performance on complex cognitive tasks during their peak hours, which is evening and night. A study from the University of Liège used brain imaging to track mental performance throughout the day. They found that night owls maintained better attention and cognitive performance later in the day, while morning people showed declining performance. If you're a night owl working on something complex, writing code, composing music, solving difficult problems, nighttime might actually be your advantage. Benefit 3. Increased independence and self-direction. Research has found personality correlations with chronotype. Night owls tend to be more independent, less conventional, and more willing to challenge social norms. This makes sense if you think about it. Being a night owl in a morning-oriented society requires independence. You're literally going against the flow of normal social schedules. Studies have found that night owls score higher on measures of nonconformity and rebelliousness, not in destructive ways, but in healthy independence. Benefit 4. More uninterrupted time. This is practical. When you're awake while most people are asleep, you have something precious. Uninterrupted time. No one's calling you, no one's scheduling meetings, no one needs your attention. For people who value deep work or solitary activities, this is incredibly valuable. Many successful people leverage their late-night hours for activities that require sustained focus. Reading, writing, planning, creating. Benefit 5. Stronger evening energy. While morning people crash in the evening, night owls maintain energy. If you've ever noticed that while your morning person friends are yawning at 8 p.m., you're just getting started, that's your natural rhythm. In careers or situations where evening work is required, night owls have a natural advantage. They're not fighting fatigue, they're in their prime. Benefit 6. Different perspective. There's something about nighttime that changes your perspective. Things feel different at night. More honest, more reflective, less filtered by social performance. Many night owls report that their late night hours are when they do their deepest thinking and self-reflection. The world is different at night, and that difference can be psychologically valuable. But let's be honest, there are real challenges and risks associated with being a night owl in a morning world. Risk 1. Social jet lag and chronic sleep deprivation. This is the biggest issue. If you're naturally inclined to sleep from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., but society demands you wake at 6 a.m., you're chronically sleep deprived. Sleep deprivation affects everything: mood, cognitive function, immune system, weight, mental health. Studies show that night owls who are forced into early schedules have higher rates of depression, anxiety, and metabolic issues. This isn't because being a night owl is inherently unhealthy. It's because being a night owl in a morning-scheduled world is unhealthy. Risk 2. Increased health risks. Research has found correlations between being a night owl and certain health issues: higher rates of diabetes, cardiovascular problems, and metabolic syndrome. But here's the important nuance. These health risks are largely associated with night owls who get adequate sleep or who have irregular sleep schedules, not with late chronotypes per se. A night owl who sleeps from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. consistently doesn't show the same health risks as a night owl who sleeps from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. The problem isn't the timing, it's the deprivation and irregularity. Risk 3. Social and professional consequences. Being a night owl can create real-world problems. Missing morning meetings, being perceived as lazy, struggling in careers that demand early starts. There's a genuine bias in society against night owls. People who wake up early are seen as disciplined and motivated. People who sleep late are often judged as lazy or irresponsible, regardless of their actual sleep amount or productivity. This social stigma can affect job prospects, relationships, and self-esteem. Risk 4. Isolation. When your active hours don't match most people's, it can be isolating. Your friends want to meet for brunch on Saturday morning. You're barely awake. Social events happen at times that conflict with your natural rhythm. Over time, this can lead to loneliness and disconnection from social networks. Risk 5. Light exposure issues. Night owls often don't get enough natural daylight exposure, especially if they sleep through morning hours. This can affect vitamin D levels, mood, and circadian rhythm regulation. Paradoxically, being a night owl can sometimes reinforce itself through lack of morning light exposure, making your rhythm even more delayed. Risk 6. Mental health challenges. Research has found higher rates of depression and anxiety among night owls. But again, we need to ask, is this because being a night owl causes mental health issues, or because forcing night owls into morning schedules creates stress that contributes to mental health problems? Evidence suggests it's more the latter. Night owls who are able to live according to their natural rhythm don't show the same elevated mental health risks. This is the question everyone asks: can I become a morning person? And should I try? The answer to can you is, it depends. If you're a true biological night owl, genetically predisposed, with a consistently late chronotype since adolescence, you can shift your schedule somewhat, but you probably can't fully become a morning person. Your biology has limitations. Think of it like being left-handed or right-handed. You can train yourself to use your non-dominant hand better, but it will never feel as natural as your dominant hand. However, if you're a habitual or social night owl, you can change more dramatically. Your late nights are behavioral rather than biological, so behavioral change is more effective. Here's how to know which you are. Can you, when highly motivated like for a vacation or important event, maintain an early sleep schedule for a week or two without extreme difficulty? If yes, you're likely more habitual than biological. If even when you really try, your body resists and you feel awful, you're likely more biological. Now, should you try to change? This requires honest assessment of your life circumstances. When changing makes sense, if you're chronically sleep deprived because you stay up late but must wake early, yes, you should work on shifting your schedule earlier. Sleep deprivation is genuinely harmful. If your late nights are driven by revenge, procrastination, or anxiety rather than genuine preference, addressing those underlying issues is more important than accepting the late schedule. If your career, family responsibilities, or education absolutely require earlier hours and there's no flexibility, you may need to adapt as much as possible. When you should consider embracing it, if you're able to get adequate sleep on your natural schedule, even if that means sleeping 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., and your life circumstances allow it, there's no inherent reason to change. If you're genuinely more productive, creative, and happy on a late schedule, and you can structure your life to accommodate it, why fight your nature? If changing causes significant stress and doesn't actually improve your life quality, it might not be worth it. The middle ground. Practical adjustments. For most night owls, the answer isn't becoming a morning person, it's making strategic adjustments. First, if you must wake early, prioritize your total sleep time. If you know you have to wake at 7 a.m., commit to being in bed by 11 p.m., even if you don't fall asleep until midnight. Protect your sleep amount. Second, use strategic light exposure. Get bright light, ideally natural sunlight, in the morning, even if you feel groggy. Dim lights in the evening. This helps shift your circadian rhythm gradually. Third, find a career or life structure that works with your chronotype. More companies are offering flexible schedules. Remote work has made time flexibility more possible. If you have the option, structure your most important work for your peak hours. Fourth, be consistent. Your body adapts better to consistent schedules, even if they're late schedules. Sleeping 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. every day is healthier than widely varying sleep times. Fifth, address sleep hygiene regardless of your chronotype. No screens an hour before bed. Cool, dark room, regular exercise, good nutrition. These basics matter whether you sleep early or late. Sixth, communicate your needs. If you live with others, explain that your chronotype isn't laziness. If you're job hunting, seek roles with flexible hours when possible. Advocate for yourself. And finally, practice self-compassion. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not lacking discipline. You have a different biological rhythm, and that's okay. Let's talk about something inspiring. Successful people who were or are night owls. Barack Obama, the former U.S. president, is a well-known night owl. He often worked late into the night, doing his most important thinking and writing in the evening hours. Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, worked late into the night and took afternoon naps. His schedule was unconventional, but didn't stop him from leading a nation through World War II. Charles Darwin, the father of evolution theory, did much of his thinking and writing late at night. Franz Kafka, the famous writer, worked a day job and wrote his literary masterpieces late at night. His late-night creativity produced some of the most important works of 20th century literature. J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of Lord of the Rings, often wrote late into the night. James Joyce, another literary giant who preferred nighttime for creative work. Bob Dylan, the legendary musician, has described himself as a night person, creating music during late hours. Fran Lebowitz, the writer and public intellectual, is famously a night owl and has spoken about the creativity of nighttime. Modern entrepreneurs and creatives continue this pattern. Many successful people structure their lives around their natural chronotype, rather than forcing themselves into conventional schedules. The point isn't that being a night owl makes you successful. It's that being a night owl doesn't prevent success. In fact, when you work with your natural rhythm rather than against it, you often perform better. These individuals didn't succeed despite being night owls. In many cases, their nighttime creativity and focus contributed to their success. All right, let's get practical. Whether you're trying to shift your schedule or optimize your current late-night pattern, here are evidence-based strategies. Tip 1. Know your non-negotiables. Identify what absolutely cannot change in your schedule. Do you have to be at work by 9 a.m.? Do you have kids who need care in the morning? Know your constraints before planning. Tip 2. Calculate backwards. If you must wake at 7 a.m. and need 8 hours of sleep, you need to be asleep by 11 p.m. Add 30 minutes for falling asleep time. That means in bed by 10:30 p.m. Work backwards from your wake time. Tip 3. Create a wind-down routine. Start preparing for sleep 2 hours before bed. Dim lights. Avoid screens. Do calming activities. Signal to your brain that sleep is approaching. Tip 4. Use light strategically. Morning. Get bright light exposure within 30 minutes of waking. Go outside if possible. This helps shift your circadian rhythm earlier. Evening. Dim all lights 2 to 3 hours before bed. Use blue light filters. Create a dark environment. Tip 5. Watch your caffeine window. No caffeine after 2 p.m. if you want to sleep by midnight. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. That afternoon coffee is still affecting you at night. Tip 6. Exercise timing matters. Morning or afternoon exercise can help shift your rhythm earlier. Avoid intense exercise within 3 hours of bedtime, as it can be alerting. Tip 7. Don't force it too fast. If you're trying to shift earlier, do it gradually. Move your bedtime 15 to 30 minutes earlier every few days. Sudden shifts don't work and cause stress. Tip 8. Protect your sleep environment. Dark, cool around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Quiet. Invest in blackout curtains, white noise, comfortable bedding. Your environment matters. Tip 9. Be consistent on weekends. The biggest mistake night owls make is shifting drastically on weekends. This creates social jet lag. Try to stay within 1 to 2 hours of your weekday schedule. Tip 10. Consider your career path. If you're early in your career or able to make changes, consider fields with flexible hours or remote work. Tech, creative industries, freelance work often allow more schedule flexibility. Tip 11. Communicate with others. Explain to family, roommates, and partners that your chronotype is biological. Ask for understanding and support. Don't let them guilt you for your natural rhythm. Tip 12. Track your sleep. Use a sleep app or journal to understand your patterns. Data helps you see what's working and what's not. So here we are. We've explored the complete psychology, biology, benefits, risks, and realities of being someone who sleeps late at night. What have we learned? First, that being a night owl is largely biological. It's in your genes, your brain chemistry, your circadian rhythm. It's not a character flaw or lack of discipline. Second, that being a night owl has genuine benefits: creativity, focus during peak hours, independence, and valuable alone time. Third, that the real problems night owls face aren't from their chronotype itself, but from the mismatch between their biology and society's schedule. Fourth, that while some adjustment is possible, fully changing from a night owl to a morning person is difficult or impossible for true biological night owls. And finally, that the goal shouldn't necessarily be to become a morning person. The goal should be to get adequate sleep, maintain good health, and structure your life in a way that works with your natural rhythm as much as possible. If you're a night owl, you're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not lacking willpower. You have a different biological clock, and throughout human history, that diversity in sleep-wake patterns served an important evolutionary purpose. The world is slowly recognizing that not everyone fits the 9-to-5 mold. Remote work, flexible schedules, and greater understanding of chronotypes are making life easier for night owls. In the meantime, practice self-compassion. Do what you can to get adequate sleep. Optimize your environment and habits. And when possible, embrace your nighttime nature rather than fighting it. The conversations you have with yourself at 2 a.m., the creative work you do when the world is quiet, the thinking you do in the peaceful darkness. These aren't signs of dysfunction. They're part of who you are. Before we end, I want to hear from you. Are you a night owl? Which type did you recognize yourself as? And have you found ways to work with your chronotype, or are you still struggling against it? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear your experiences. If this video helped you understand yourself better, make sure to subscribe to Mind Reversed. We explore the fascinating psychology behind everyday behaviors, helping you understand yourself and others with science-backed insights. Hit that like button if you learned something new today. Share this with a fellow night owl who needs to hear that they're not broken. And turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Remember, your natural rhythm is valid. Your productivity at night is real. And your creativity in darkness is a gift. Work with your nature, not against it. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep embracing who you are, whether you're awake at dawn or at midnight. This is Mind Reversed. Sleep well, whenever that is for you.